Our entire neurology is designed to validate. A lot of good people, a lot of great people have great intuition, and their intuition gets stagnant at some point. Intuition itself is a learned process. Remember, guessing and validating is the best way to train an intuition. Is one of the most powerful ways your intuition can learn. A lot of good people, a lot of great people have great intuition, and their intuition gets stagnant at some point. This is why you see so many legends. Yeah. When they were growing, when they were 20, 30, they were legendary. They made like intuitive calls. And they become 40, 50. What happens is at some point they cross a threshold where their intuition starts feeling to them like absolute reality every time. They stop validating if what they guess is true or not. So what happens is then they get locked into a circular belief and they have a stagnating intuition. I always tell people it's always good to validate your intuition, like if coming from one channel using another channel. And if you can have more than 2 channels, you're even safer. And so you always validate your intuition. In the olden days when they had to travel through the seas, and sometimes there are these cities where when they have to cross, they rely on the stars for the navigation. And sometimes the stars are clouded. The weather doesn't allow you to see the sky. So what these navigators used to do is they used to lie down in the boat and feel the currents of the water when the sky is clear. So the sky is the first channel, and they're feeling the currents, and that's the second channel. And when they feel the currents, the body gets trained to intuitively know how does the currents feel when they're going in the right direction. Because especially when you're sailing, a small shift might mean that instead of going back to your kingdom and being the king, you're actually a captured slave in someone else's land. So the navigator has to be very careful, and now just feeling the current, but not some current, a current from a well-trained intuition, when they had that reference and they had the other reference. In a lot of ways, that's what differentiates us from schizophrenics. Because, how many of you have this experience when you're searching for a key and you can't find it? They call that as positive hallucination. And the reason it's called positive hallucination is when there's a key on top of your table, for you to not see the key there, you have to imagine and hallucinate the table where there is a key. So we all do that. The difference between a schizophrenic most times and people who are not is that if you see somewhere something that looks like a shadow or a dog or something, you try to see, can you hear its sound? And if it's not very clear, you go and you touch it and you check. So we have a secondary mechanism to validate. And most times schizophrenics, they don't. They just are stuck to one representation. They either imagine things or they feel things in their body. They don't have a secondary way of validation. Our entire neurology is designed to validate. That's why you have the left brain and the right brain. The things that you see right now in front of you are processed both by your right hemisphere and the left hemisphere. One of the hemisphere takes the entire picture and chunks it down into smaller pieces. And the other hemisphere takes all of the smaller information and constructs it big. And now they too have to match. And it adjusts itself so that you have a better and clearer understanding of the reality in front of you. And intuition itself is a learned process. A lot of times people feel thirst, not because there is a trigger to say that you're dehydrating. The biological mechanism for us to know that we have dehydrated is after we dehydrate. So when we are in an environment and in a particular city, in a particular temperature, in a particular place, we kind of start predicting the pattern of when our body needs more water. It's an intuitive behavior. Now, what happens is some people rely on that intuition and they go to a desert backpacking. They may have water in their bag, but if they wait to feel thirsty, they may just die. A lot of people have died because that intuition that was valid in their city is not valid in another territory.
We never like to complete our video without giving you the opportunity to personally evolve and launch your legacy. Imagine for a moment, what would it feel like when you are impacting the world positively so much and enhancing your business, your health, your family and legacy? All of this together simultaneously, continuing to grow leaps and bounds, fast and smoothly. If you've got the right motives, we believe Antano and Harini will be able to help you launch your legacy in compressed time. Get excellence installation-based personal evolution and keep making a difference, starting with yourself.